get started. We do not have our town crier this evening, and it's a couple of minutes past 7. So let's go ahead and kick off this February meeting of SEVA. Thank you all for coming in these cold conditions. We have an esteemed keynote with us this evening, Quincy Edmund Lee, a name that when I saw it, I said, that's a good Southern name. But then he sounds like a Californian, so I don't know what to make of him yet. And we'll need to conduct our annual business meeting, and we'll have a fiscal report from Charlie, who has left Florida drag racing behind long enough to give us our treasurer's report. And we like to kick off these meetings with, if there's anybody here for the first time or for the first time in a long time. Anyone? Anyone? You in the blue, who are you?
My name is Tim Ritchie.
Formerly of the EV Expert handle?
That one,
Yeah.
From TIVA.
You let that expire in about 2012, huh? Okay, so an old Tacoma Electric Vehicle Association buddy, Tim, and former neighbor, and excellent draftsman. Was there another hand I saw?
Clark Nicholson.
Clark Nicholson.
Yeah.
Not related to Clark Howard. You can't give me any consumer tips. Okay.
Sorry.
Any particular interests?
Well, I own a couple of EVs.
A couple, that's good. A budding collector.
Actually, I'm interested in education.
Education.
I don't know if you guys do that, but
Well, that's our middle name, Seattle Electric Vehicle Association. Our motto is educate, innovate, proliferate.
yeah.
In that order. In the back of the room, we have someone from the UW.
Yeah, my name is Sid. I'm with OTEV. We're based out of UW. We're working on an autonomous EV charging robot. Essentially, it's a battery on wheels with a robotic arm that plugs into Tesla to charge it, and then goes back to the space station to recharge. So if you have any questions, let me know. We can also offer you a tour of our lab.
All right.
It can. It's got a good arm.
Does Oregon still require an attendant to fill your car?
I think it was the EV revolution that ended the requirement for gas jockeys in Oregon. You can now Yes. So progress comes to even the funniest of places. Probably our most prolific builder in the room right now. You have any updates? Yes?
Oh, no, I'm not that guy. I picked up my Tesla rear drive, Tesla 3 rear drive motor.
Oh, good, a 3, not an S rear drive.
Right. I'm limited in space, and I don't know a lot about them. I'm trying to figure this out as I go, and I want to set this all up for bench testing before I take out the cutting torch. And I'm kind of at a loss for batteries at this point as to what direction I'm going to go. A lot of options. Almost all of them are free, huh?
Have you found Enginex.ca?
Maybe. I've found so much. They didn't stick.
They are Quebecois, and they were the first to find a way to unlock the power hidden in your Model 3. The Ludicrous mode is yours for a small fee. And they also sell third-party controllers for Model 3 motors and battery packs.
Yeah. I think I was looking at EV Controls TC2 controller for some of the other options.
So the suspicious-looking guy in the burgundy hoodie would be one to talk to.
Oh, that's the guy I want to talk
And then they have
Right.
the Irish guy, David McGuire. He just recently created a printed circuit board, and all this. I think it's gonna work, but all this is run by the open inverter form.
Okay. Well, without much further ado, if we have no other urgent announcements or first-timers, we'll let Mr. Lee take the floor because he's had a very busy day. He had many of us to the Electric Era headquarters a couple of weekends ago for a behind-the-scenes look, and as one of the few, the brave, establishing a new business enterprise in Seattle. Yesterday, his employees were on the evening news talking about how they're going to cope with the yet latest proposal to tax businesses. What was it this time for
Payroll tax.
a head tax to provide housing? Yeah. And then today he ran a great webinar on EV charging reliability, focusing not just on cut cables, but all the back of the house issues that drivers don't know is going on. Even had an Electrify America refugee on there willing to testify. So some really interesting people, and I've managed to follow up with a couple of them already. But Mr. Lee, the floor is yours. I'll cue up the presentation.
All right. Well, nice to meet you all today. Excited to talk with you. We'll get the presentation up here in a second. But as he mentioned, my name is Quincy Lee. I'm the CEO and founder of Electric Era. Has anybody heard of Electric Era in the room other than just right now? You have? Okay, cool, awesome. Well, we're a local Seattle company. We were founded in 2020 by myself and one other individual. Today we are about 38 employees. So my background is in engineering. I'm a former SpaceX engineer, recovering SpaceX engineer, as I like to say. I spent a lot of my life building rockets and satellites and spacecraft. Most of my time at SpaceX, the 7 years that I spent there, I was working on the Starlink program, which is actually just over here in Redmond. I was one of the earliest team members on that program, joined in 2016, and then saw all the way through the first launch and ultimately up to when we had about 1,000 satellites in orbit. That's kind of my tenure there. In that role, I oversaw the Gateway Ground Station Antenna program. So these are the large parabolic antennas that talk to the satellites and basically relay data up to them. So I was responsible for that soup to nuts, overseeing about 110 people, and was fortunate enough to basically take that program from prototype all the way to deploying on about 3 continents before I left in 2020 to found SpaceX. So when I was, or Electric Era, excuse me. So when I left, there were antennas going to Africa and Europe and Australia and New Zealand, and we were deploying at scale. And it's been cool to watch what the program has done over there in the last 5 years. While I was spent that time building Electric Era. So why did I leave SpaceX to found Electric Era? It's a question I often get. I think the primary reason was I felt compelled to bring the advanced space technologies that I was learning and using every day at SpaceX into the EV charging industry. I had heard from many drivers, not necessarily Tesla drivers, but basically all the other drivers that want to drive Ford or GM or even Rivian. The biggest frustration and pain point that they had was that EV charging is just lousy. So we founded the company with a very clear mission statement, which was to make EV fast charging ubiquitous, affordable, and reliable. And I knew that I had the technical toolkit in hand and a large personal network of awesome SpaceX engineers to help with that problem. So I founded the company in 2020 to do just that. We brought in a pretty compelling, very technical team of individuals together to solve this. As I mentioned, we have about 38 employees. Most of the core leadership team are actually from SpaceX. If you go to the next slide. Our CTO was at SpaceX for 10 years. He and I worked very closely together. Our VP of software was also there for about 7 years. He was responsible for the satellite gateway, the satellite bus software stack. And our VP of production and supply chain, who actually just joined the company, was the individual responsible in the 2022 timeframe for building about 45 Starlink satellites per week. So we've brought together a strong technical nucleus to apply technical solutions for what is a challenging and thorny problem. And as the gentleman mentioned, we have a factory space in SODA, just south of here, and kind of by the stadiums. It's about 18,000 square feet. You can see it in that photo there. It's a pretty cool spot. We occasionally do driver days where we'll bring EV drivers by and give them a tour. So feel free to reach out on our website, and if you want to join the next one, our team can add you to the mailing list. In that facility, we do design and production. So our company actually designs our own charging stations. We use componentry from third-party vendors and also do some light manufacturing to pull together a novel and proprietary charging station. We also develop all of our own software there. So our company has a strong thesis that, just like what you can see with Tesla and Rivian, our strong thesis is that software integrated, really tightly integrated software and hardware products are what make all the magical products of the 21st century. So, I'm sure everybody here has driven a Tesla, many probably have driven a Rivian, probably a lot of you have seen a SpaceX rocket launch. The way that those companies are able to do such magical things with their products is that they have really strong end-to-end integration of hardware and software. Basically, the software is able to control every aspect of the vehicle. It's able to control it at an incredibly fast rate with high data throughput, so that you can, have that vehicle, whether it's a Falcon 9 rocket or a SpaceX Starlink satellite, autonomously perform various actions on orbit at the speed of software. A good example of that is a rocket landing itself. When a rocket's coming back in through the atmosphere, there's a lot of things happening. You can't have somebody on console telling the rocket, go left, too far left. That there's going to be bad outcomes for that rocket, of course, if that's your control loop. It makes way more sense to have an onboard vehicle or an onboard computer, a computer on the actual rocket or in the Tesla or in the Rivian or in our electric air charging stations that's issuing commands in real time. And that's actually one of the things that we do in our charging stations to make them perform at a higher level. We run our charging station software locally in real time at about a 20 millisecond control loop to give it an advanced set of capabilities that we'll talk about in a second. So in addition to kind of building certain parts of the charging station and knowing the full charging station architecture, as I mentioned also, we do all of the software ourselves. So we have developed a fully vertically integrated software stack that runs the whole charging station. What this means is we don't outsource parts of our software to other third-party companies. We own everything in-house. And that gives us a clean, integrated data pipeline that we own every section of. Many of the faulty products that you interacted with in your day-to-day are really actually from the software not working. Basically, software has to talk to other software. Bad things can happen, especially if you don't have two good companies working together. So it makes way more sense for one really strong, lean software team to own the whole stack. This is how you get next level performance. And in our case, that's also how we solve many of the reliability problems that face the non-Tesla charging stations. If you want to go to the next slide. I think, just as an example, one of our charging stations, we have 12 charging stations around America. We're growing quite rapidly. We're probably going to install 7 this quarter. Many of them look like this or that. They're basically charging stations that are predominantly located right next to retail establishments. That's one of our big theses as a company, is that retail adjacency for charging just makes it better. Because guess what? When you charge a car, you have 20 to 30 minutes, right? So what do you want to do? You usually want to use the restroom. You might want to go look through some magazines. You might want to buy a slushie or even go into a Starbucks. That adjacency is a really important part of the charging experience. So with our charging stations, we put them as close as we can to the retailer front store. That specific location has a really nice deli right next to it. It's right off of I-5. It's got a really great deli right there, and a convenience store. You can go in, use the restroom, and take care of all your bodily functions. Kind of speaking for the motivation on this slide, I think that I drive a Tesla. I think everybody in this room probably drives a Tesla too. The Tesla model is great. They've obviously solved the charging problem, and they've got a large amount of deployments. We rather are solving the charging problem for the other half, the non-Tesla community. They really struggle with charging access. They often go to stations that look like that are, cable cut, caution tape around it, screen shattered, payment terminal broken, completely offline. This is like an average charging station in America right now. We fundamentally solve that problem with our software system, with our network operations center that monitors the charging stations and make sure that they're functional and operational 100% of the time, near 100% of the time, and deliver a very successful and reliable charging experience near 100% of the time as well. That way you can show up, it's operational, no problem, you plug in, you tap your credit card, you walk away, the car starts charging, no issues. That's as seamless as we make the experience for drivers. Go to the next slide. some of these points I've hit on already. One of the key ones is that, and one of the key things that makes our charging station different is that we have a battery at every one of our charging stations. So we are a battery-backed EV charging station company. The battery serves many useful purposes. The main one is that it can decrease the time that the charging station is built in, because you can decrease the amount of grid infrastructure required to turn the station online. Our charging stations, instead of using 1,000 homes worth of power, we can use about 300. So we can actually reduce about 600 homes worth of power just from battery energy backup and dynamic load management software. This means we can build stations faster, we can build them for less money, and we can operate them for less money. So our customers, like Costco, who's one of our customers, we sell the charging station to them, we build it for them, we operate it for them, we maintain it for them. They pay us for that. We're not a traditional network like Tesla, who owns the charging revenue. We provide solutions and services. So our customers really like that. They want to go fast, they want to spend less money, they think of it more of an investment. So the battery component, which you can see in the little GIF down there, is a really important part of that. One of the cool things about our software, speaking about kind of rapid integrated control, is that we can very quickly basically determine which power flows are coming from where and delivering to which cars. Meaning that we can control the grid and the battery and the power going into the cars on a very split-second basis, and actually deliver power into the cars that exceeds the local power supply. This is like a really important thing to do, and it means we can build in locations that others can't. So that's a function of the software system. In addition to that, we own everything else at the charging experience. We own the payment terminal, the screen. We can display whatever we want for our customers. We obviously own the power going into the car, and then the car to charger handshake, the software handshake. I'll open up for Q&A at the end, if that's okay. One of the key things that we also do differently is that we are very data rich. So, when a Tesla has an issue, when your Tesla has an issue, Tesla can immediately know. And it's because they own all the software. The same is true with our charging stations. We own all the software, therefore we can see exactly what's happening throughout the entire charging station experience. And if there is an issue, we know immediately and can go all the way down to first principles to solve the problem. Kind of going back to our SpaceX, heritage and experiences, that's what we were taught to do, and we're applying that same, set of disciplines to our product, our charging station product. This gives us the ability to improve our charging station's performance really quickly. The charging experience is, of course, not always perfect. When it goes wrong, we immediately, fix it in software and we'll push an over-the-air update, just like your car gets an over-the-air update. Who's seen your Tesla software improve over time, right? Everybody? So that's the case with our charging stations. They're always getting better and better with software via over-the-air updates. And then, that continual improvement is really valued by our customers and ultimately the drivers who have actually seen our charging stations get better and better over time and do cooler and cooler things over time. So go to the next slide. Yeah, and this is a good example of the battery system. So actually in this photo, you can see the green, hopefully no food colorblind, the back in the green box, you can actually see our battery. That's what we manufacture in Seattle, in SODO, our 18,000 square foot facility. We build specific parts of that. We integrate them all together. We test it. We actually run testing in factory. We pull together a third-party company's chargers. We integrate another company's payment terminal together. We bring that whole system together in our factory for test as well, so we can make sure that the end-to-end experience is really clean and seamless. And then when we install it on site, what do we got to do? We got to attach to the grid, right? So the transformer, you can see back there, that transformer is actually using less power than what is being delivered to the cars at peak. And what makes up the gap is the battery. So battery-backed fast charging is a key differentiator for us. Next slide. So how do some of these things work? Well, here's a good example of one. One of the cool things we learned at SpaceX was about autonomous fault detection and recovery. So if there is a fault, let's say one of the power modules in your Tesla, or let's say let's say the screen in the Tesla goes out. That's happened to you, of course. I'm sure. If it hasn't, you're lucky. It's happened to me a couple times. Well, Tesla software can immediately detect that and then restart it. That's it only achievable when you have full software control. Most vendors, most other charging companies in that situation, the screen goes out of charging station. The way that they find out is by a human going and leaving a bad plug share review. Think about like the fundamental difference between those two things. One is literally the speed of light, effectively, minus a little bit of friction delays. And then the other is the speed of everyday life, right? So he goes there, the screen's broken, they can't get it to work. Oh man, this station sucks. Maybe they'll look at that plug share review, maybe they'll then send out a technician to fix it. And when the technician gets there, they probably won't fix it because they don't really know what happened. With a vertically integrated software solution, you can immediately know, and you can run that data through algorithms to basically figure out, okay, if this happens, then that. If this happens, then that. So we do that. We of course have little bugs pop up, and we just squash them with software. And in fact, I think like just talking to our VP of software about this, about 97% of possible faults that occur at our charging station are immediately solved with software. So that means there's a very small sampling of things that can actually go wrong that would require any sort of human intervention, which you can kind of see on the second hand over there, the second rung rather. When a detection, when something is not solvable immediately with software, our team, because we're data rich, we can get into the telemetry and immediately figure out what happened. And so our network operations team actually runs a 24-hour shift. Occasionally we get alerts that say, hey, I'm having a problem over here. I'm at a charging station in Mississippi or Tennessee or Boston or New Mexico. Wake up. Our team can go in and figure out what happened and then do a corrective action. Oftentimes that involves writing the software and updating the charging station with an over-the-air update. And then for non-software fixable problems, like let's say there's a persistent hardware failure, like a wheel pop, wheel tire pops or something like that for a car, as an example, we can know what happened because we see it in telemetry, and that way when we send a technician out, they know exactly what they need to fix. They get in, they get out, they get the charging station back up online quickly. So these are some of the ways that we're making EV charging more reliable. It's ultimately all technology enabled, and it makes the driver experience much better. If you go to the next slide. Actually, one more. Yeah, so we've actually seen great feedback from drivers. Drivers appear to love our product. We obsessively monitor our charging station's performance, basically like every possible metric that is of relevance. We don't want to be too nuanced and too detailed, but basically uptime, is it operational? Is the charging success rate, is it reliable when you plug in immediately? And then just general like brand sentiment with reviews on social media or on PlugShare. We monitor all of that. Our PlugShare reviews, which is a driver app, if you're not familiar, are averaging right now 96%, so almost 100%. And we also get great feedback from folks online, like this Tesla driver who, is actually stopping, occasionally replacing supercharger stops with Electric Era. One of the things that also makes us different is we really don't like, the whole app-centric charging experience. We think it's silly. Best part's no part, is, Elon likes to say, which is a true statement in many cases. So we basically have tap-to-pay solutions on every one of our charging stations. You go up, you tap, plug in, you walk away. That's it. That's all you need to do. No apps, no loading your credit card money into the app. No trying to get a signal, trying to put the numbers that you see on the charger into the app and click initiate. That shouldn't exist, right? So we've engineered all that out. Our charging stations are pretty speedy. We peak out at 200 kW. We'll be going higher and higher power in the future. And then, as I mentioned, superior reliability. I think last slide. Oh yeah. So or maybe this is second to last slide, but yeah, here's a good map of either where we are or where we will be soon. So all of the dark dots, kind of hard to see the difference here, but all of the dark yellow dots are where our current stations are that are live. These are stations that we're running and operating for one of our customers, like a Costco. And then all the light yellow dots are actually where we're deploying and building sites actively. So we're growing pretty quick. And, my main job here is to educate, like we were talking about earlier. We want to spread the word. We want to spread best methodologies as well. We want, people to be aware of what we're working on. And then also, love to have conversations with EV drivers about how to make the charging experience better. We're just in the very early days of electrification. There's like less than maybe 3 million, 4 million electric cars on American roads, and there's 100 million total cars. So we're about 3 to 4% of the way through American electrification. There's about 1 billion cars around the world. We're just in the very beginning. So this whole industry is going to keep changing. It's going to be very different 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So we're super excited for that. And again, as a company, we want to take a first principles engineering approach to making it better and better and better. That's our job. We're a forcing function for excellence, and we really want to make again, going back to our mission, we want to make charging ubiquitous, affordable, and super reliable. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much, and if you couldn't tell from the room, we do need reminders that we're still very early into electrification.
Yeah.
This is SEVA's 34th fiscal year of continuously meeting and building electric cars, and now trying to get the state to come along in a sensible way as they're squandering hundreds of millions of dollars. A few questions. Mark, your Mark.
Couple questions. Your DC fast charger will have NACS and CCS?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, that video that I showed, that station has half NACS, half CCS.
okay.
And a good chunk of our charging stations are equipped at a 50% ratio. And over time, we'll be fully blending in the NACS profile.
So you just take your credit card and turn it on? Okay. Now, how about the handshake between, okay, there's people among this group that have aftermarket CCS on their builds. Is there any kind of a handshake that says whether or not this car is acceptable for our charging station, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I think it's 2022 Teslas did not have the right chipset in it. So if you own a Tesla in that vintage, you will not be able to use an electric air charging station that is equipped with NACS. Everything after that, you're good to go. But our software is able to detect that and figure out if it's one chipset or the other chipset. And for the early chipset, we won't, be able to issue commands to the car to receive power. So we can't do those cars.
Okay, now aftermarket builds that have your own CCS, how you gonna do that?
Aftermarket, you're on your own. No, no,
Well,
kidding.
all
I'm
you
joking,
care
I'm
about
joking.
is
What this club is.
Yeah.
We're not Tesla Club.
Yeah,
Not the
Cool.
Tesla.
All right.
yeah, all we wanna do is charge.
Yeah. I would be hesitant to say one way or the other without having a deep dive conversation, to be honest. I wouldn't want to say yes or no. We might be able to do it, but I would need more data to understand
But there's
software protocol that you're working with an aftermarket car to know if we could actually charge you.
Oh, okay, because it's real particular right now. Well, how about CCS? Is it particular for CCS or just for the NACS?
No issues with CCS.
Okay, so any CCS can come in and charge, yeah.
Correct. And Cadmo. Adapter for it.
On a related note,
Chatamo.
I was going to ask, the first Chatamo adapter I successfully used was in their shop a couple weeks ago. And the company I had build a prototype for me over a year ago has promised to send me a replacement for the one that didn't work. So what's your position on adapters? EVgo's threatening to sue me if their equipment smokes up while I'm using an adapter.
I think that.
All our cars say that need to work.
That's true.
Yeah, I think, in general, certain adapters do not meet the baseline engineering requirements for a successful and safe charge. And if that's the case, there's risk to, personal injury, risk to the business, risk to your car. But in general, that's my sense. Just use the UL certified products.
So I had an in-person conversation with Anagawa. Anagawa-san was the father of Chatamo, former nuclear programs director for TEPCO, and he agreed to pursue a certification program through the Chatamo Association for all of these adapters that are coming up in the market. Brian?
So,
That's actually really important because there's a number of devices out there that may look UL certified, but the UL certification has been fraudulently applied to that product. EPRI pointed this out as early as 2018, that there were a number of products listed on Amazon from Chinese companies with completely fake UL certification. So
charging profiles, can you affect that with a car?
The way that the charging profile and power flows are dictated is actually by the on-vehicle ECU in the Tesla or whatever car. And then the EVSE or the charging station replies. So it's a handshake, but the commands are dictated by the car.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I worked in Beijing. Every single electrical product we could pick up in the local market had fake CSA, fake UL, fake everything. We actually had a fire in the building on the weekend because of that. And a fire.
What's your strategy on the cord cutting? I mean, do you even embrace the idea of not having cords? In other words, having cars carry their own cords, or have you got some sort of detection
Oh
model
man,
for that?
I think you know, I'm a big believer in solving the kind of root cause issue, and I think we just need to stop the cord cutting. Like these are important pieces of societal infrastructure, and we need to enforce laws and prevent people from cutting them. And the only way to do that is if we enforce the law. So I would follow your legislature and congressman, congresswoman, whatever, and actually, you know, say this is a big priority for our industry. I think that's the main issue, and we should solve it. That's the root cause problem. The second thing is what we've noticed. Fortunately, we've never had a cable cut. We have 12 stations. We've been live for more than a year and a half now. Never had a cable cut. And one of the reasons that we haven't had that is because our charging stations are in great locations. They're typically right at front of the stores. There's usually an attendant on site, well lit. Might not be the safest location, but even if it isn't, we actually have a charging station that's not, you know, that safe in North Portland. Never have had an issue at it. So the adjacency to a person in a retail establishment and kind of the constant oversight, I think is a great deterrent. But again, for, you know, a Tesla or an Electrify America station, you know, the one I showed in the image, if they're off on their own somewhere, they're gonna get cut, and we just need to enforce laws and not let that happen anymore. Question over here?
Regarding cable cutting, Charge Point, who's a hardware vendor, a week or two ago, dropped some news that they're working on, uncuttable cable with hardening, like embedded in the sheet and stuff that they're happy to share with other people that need more robust cables that are,
What was the name of the video series? I forget that guy.
Something to go.
Well, as a charge point host of a 12-year-old site, I was giving them precisely those recommendations for the past 3 years, begging that they do it, and of course they drug their heels and just tried to sell me replacement equipment. They refused to sell replacement cables. They finally did it, and as of last week, they still couldn't give me pricing, availability, or pledge to sell just a cable alone for the 4000 series heads. They only want you to buy a new pedestal. So my cancellation of the charge point contract remains.
YouTube channel State of Charge.
Tom Maloney's channel.
Tom Owens State of Charge, yeah.
Had an interview with the charge point guy, and they talked about the cable, just now, just started developing it.
You can only cut it with a grinder.
Your cables have some sort of sensor in the cable that tells you when it's cut?
Yeah, we can tell if the cable is cut, and we can then issue a technician. But again, we've never had a cable cut. And I think perhaps, but probably not, to be honest, because, you know, knock on wood, because, you know, literally these are co-located right next to a super nice retail establishment.
People in lights.
Yeah, people in lights, man. I mean, that's like a great way to prevent people from breaking into your house.
in Seattle.
We will be installing one in Arlington.
The article I read the other day said the vast majority of cable cutting around here is in Seattle.
That
They
is not
think it's a
surprising.
game.
Yeah.
That's targeting the ones around here. They're well aware.
Our cuts have
Right over
been
here.
from the homeless, and word spreads, and we get a different person 9 times out of 10. You know, they just say, "Oh, that seems like a good idea," and then they get turned away from the scrapyard, and they don't even get to sell the cable.
Question in the back.
To a degree, can you outline the economic model for the retailers? And also curious if you can share any data lessons learned from the data you're getting off the charges.
Sure. So the first question, the economic model for our customers. So they make money off of the electrons they sell and, you know, then electricity. They buy for the utility at one price, they sell it at the other, they capture the spread, and then they do that again and again and again and again, and that makes them money. Our returns are actually pretty good. Our cost of product is fairly low. We have done a lot of value engineering to make sure our products are affordable. So typically our, payback period, maybe is a good frame of reference for the audience, is about 3 to 4 years. The other way that they make money, and what a lot of retailers are investing in EV charging for, is to get people to the store, so they go into the store. Retailers make about 30 to 40% profit margins once you're in the store on the goods that you buy from them, so they make the vast majority of their profit as a business for that. So they see charging as a wedge product, basically, for their businesses.
Places do that around here.
Lessons learned, many. Too many to count. I think, I would say maybe like lesson learned for starting a business is, attract extremely talented people that are super fired up about the mission that you're following. I think that's probably the thing that I've learned most profoundly over the last 4 to 5 years. It's the people that make everything happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. I was geeking on the data, and getting
Yeah.
charges, and anything from there that
Yeah.
this group is quite interested in.
Well, yeah, so, one of the silliest things we learned early on was that the vast majority of charging failures are just because of connectivity issues. So remember when I was talking about the little computer that we have inside the charging station? That provides us basically resilience if the internet goes down. Or if, like Azure or AWS go down, like we can just run in island mode. So that solved, I think, literally 30% of issues, like attributable to either payments or they couldn't get the connection to the back end, like silly stuff like that. You're like, oh, we know how to solve that problem. Satellites never talk to, the back end. They barely ever have connectivity, right? At least in the early days. Same thing with the rocket or the Dragon spacecraft. So that's, I think, was a key technical enabler for the successes that we've had.
Are you using like second life batteries or storage? No.
No.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, have you had any help from the government in the form of grants or anything like that?
Yeah, we actually help our customers, certain of our customers, with grant writing. So our team actually has, we have a pretty good grant writing team actually. So we were able to win a number of NEVI funded sites. We actually just deployed our first one in New Mexico. So we'll be building probably 20-ish more of those in the next 6 to 10-ish months.
I have a comment on cord cutting. I live on top of Queen Anne Hill, and there's about 5 superchargers, or CCSs, and a supercharger. 2 now. And all of them have had a haircut. And it's been months with nothing. And so Tesla now allows people with adapters like me to plug in. And I went to all the ones in downtown. Tesla cut us all off because only half of the Tesla chargers could be used with adapters. And apparently that's where the maximum volume is. But they're putting 12 new ones over by the Fred Meyer. They got a haircut. I was by the other day, someone was working on them. Said, oh, you were going to get it going. So why are all the doors up? He said they broke into them and took all the brass bus bars out of them. So
call your representatives.
Yeah,
well,
that's
gotta
the
get
first
it fixed.
few from the others.
Yeah.
So it took Tesla 3 months to get the parts to fix them.
I have 5 more minutes. I gotta actually, believe it or not, I have a meeting at 8:30, so I gotta run in a second.
What do they call it, plug and charge?
Plug and charge.
Are you guys
We'll
planning on supporting that?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it when the time's right. We want to get like the ground infrastructure dialed. Plug and charge basically is supportable with the software protocol that we are currently on, OTP 2.0. So we just need to have the OEM enable it and set up that relationship with the large automotive OEM companies, which is like too much headache for a team of 38 people. So we want to make the product. We're spending all of our time and resources on making our product as best as we can, and then that's just an easy, check the box later on.
A lot of the people in this group, they build their own cars and obviously
Yeah.
do aftermarket stuff. Do you like have a package or some sort of recommendation, something that would make it easier for people like that? Like put in an X charger and use this.
That's a very cool idea. I personally don't, but I mean, if there was like a module that you could just plug in, that'd be awesome.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the aftermarket, supply chain, unfortunately.
So, how different is your business going to be from FreeWire Technologies?
We're
Solvent.
we're
Yeah, boy, that's enough of that one.
All right, next question.
Arcady raised 230 million to do something similar to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Seemed pretty cool. Now he got addicted to raising money, and
Yeah.
then that
Yeah.
treadmill stopped.
Yeah.
And he went bankrupt.
Yeah, that happened to a lot of startups in the 2022 timeframe. So when interest rates spiked, government spent too much money, interest rates spiked, inflation spiked, interest rates spiked, the capital market shut down. That's what happened. So at 2022, everybody in the venture community, startup founders, they all ran off a cliff. Well, I was fortunate enough to get into that before I, approached the edge. And also, our business, I guess, from a business perspective, like, pure dollars and cents, we're geared quite differently. Like, we have a profitable product, we make money as a business, and that helps immensely. That we're a very investable business, and we don't really need investment. So we, really want to maintain solvency, as we were indicating earlier.
For future sites, I-90 across South Dakota, please, please.
I'm on it. You with that?
A lot of people I've talked to in the rural areas say that they can't get chargers because there's no internet. So, are you reliant on the internet, or are you talking Starlink?
So there's pretty much, yeah, I mean, we actually ironically had experimented with Starlink in our factory, and we largely built the Starlink constellation. Many of our team members were instrumental to that, so we're very familiar with Starlink, and we'll actually probably roll it out to many of our charging stations for basically just extra data. Like, we'll be commissioning the site, we'll be getting kilobecks data off the site. That's like not enough, and it makes the commissioning process hard. So we don't. Basically, we've looked at Starlink. If we need it, we'll use it. Most locations either have some sort of 4G connection or LTE connection, so you can always get something somewhere. If it goes down, which does happen all the time, as I mentioned earlier, we don't need it. We can run autonomously. So we're resilient to that failure mode. But in all cases, we've been able to see 4G at all of our locations. If there is purely no internet, like you're in the middle of nowhere, yeah, that would be a good job for Starlink.
I noticed out in Interbay, there's Car2Go, I think, and they've got to team up with GM, and they got a couple stations that, once they get the cords back on, it'll run at 350 kilowatts. Do you have any that go that high?
So stay tuned.
What's this car here take anyway?
This is, it's
a
a 350,
That's a
yeah.
350?
Yeah.
And it's gonna have an NAC on it, or NACS on it too.
So in terms of new power levels, I'll do one more question in a second. I was just gonna say, stay tuned. We'll be announcing some exciting things towards the end of the year. Do you have a question?
I had a trip to Portland. There were 2 cords cut in Centralia, Tesla church, and 4 in Vancouver at Fred Meyer. So I went in and got security at Fred Meyer, and they said, we don't own the chargers. So then I called the sheriff, and he came out. He says, who owns the chargers? I said, apparently not Fred Meyer. He said, well, Tesla has to call me because you don't own the chargers. I can't turn my detectives loose unless the owner of the product calls it in. So get your phone number there, if you own it, or the appropriate number of the owner of the charger, then the sheriff would investigate. So our detectives are anxious to do it, but legally we can't unless it was somebody's property that they were stolen.
Well, it's good that you called them and made them aware.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a tough problem. But again, it just kind of goes back to us enforcing laws in society. We need to do that. That's the root cause problem. One more question.
Okay, just a ballpark figure, like 4 of your stations put into a retail center, what was that ballpark?
Are you interested in buying?
Yeah.
All right, let's get your card on the way out. I'll put you in touch with our sales team. Anything else?
Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for giving us all the time to do.
All right, we'll enjoy and enjoy the next time we have today.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
I have a friend who was gonna get a electric car and he got a hybrid instead. He said, not time to get one.
Training wheels, yes. Always fighting the
I
training
said, well,
wheels.
I expect you to use every electric tower you got in there, you don't get us all the time.
Okay, well, we have, time for a business meeting. Let's kick it off with a treasurer's report. See how Charlie's done with the money.
Sit here.
Do you have that,
Yep, I've got it up.
Okay, so I put together a brief summary of our finances between February 1st of last year to February 1st of this year. And Jay will put it up here shortly. So we started 2024 at $24,700.
Charlie?
Okay, so we started at $24,770 February last year. Our total income for this past year was $877. About $770 was due to members' dues being paid and other donations. And about $107 was interest on the money that we had in our bank accounts. For expenses, we had a total of $2,631. We had some monthly MailChimp fees, some mail service that Bob had us do, but he mentioned that he just changed our MailChimp service level to the free version, so that those fees will be going away for the coming year. And there's a $20 fee every year for the Secretary of State filing as a nonprofit organization. We had some printing costs for various pamphlets that we've been showing at our car shows. And then there's a $200 post office box fee. I think it's gone up to about $217 for the next year, so that's a pretty consistent rate. This web hosting cost is actually a one-off thing. We actually were reimbursing our webmaster for costs that he's been incurring out of pocket since about 2003. So that's not going to be an ongoing kind of a thing, at least not at that amount in the future. And then our other major expense for the year is the Greenwood Car Show, and we spent $594 for last year's car show. And that was paying for all the registration fees for all the EVs that we showed at the show. So we ended the year at $23,016 or $17, and the net outflow was $1,754 or so less in our bank account this year compared to the same time last year.
So we ran a deficit, but the vast majority of it was a one-time expense. And the SEVA endowment is healthy. We can continue like this for a long, long time to come. But we're not spending much, but part of that comes with how much are we doing? Are we doing enough? I think the time is right for us to be doing more. There are many relevant bills in the legislature. I testified once this week. I can't get caught doing that again. The Rivian bill is up. There's the bill that would create a closed ecosystem for EV batteries. They're mimicking the New Jersey EV battery stewardship law, but conveniently the provisions protecting individuals' right to repair and mad scientist types has been omitted from the bill, and it would create a closed ecosystem. So my backyard and Stephen's backyard, I think, would be eligible for the $10,000 fine level that is proposed for being unlicensed battery repair facilities. And another bill that's up there is requiring not just a licensed electrician, but a licensed electrician that has gone to one particular certification course that some entrepreneur is pushing in order to install EVSE in the state of Washington. So the sausage making is underway, and nobody's minding the store as far as I can tell. Any other pertinent items of business for the annual business meeting before we get to the annual election? Yes, sir.
I've got one. I have a friend that has a YouTube channel, Future Auto. It used to be My Tesla Weekend.
Yep.
Brian Light from
Longview?
Philly area. Not Longview, but
South of there.
Yeah, south of there. Who has not making a lot of money in YouTube and would love to get a sponsor. I don't know if we could do that. I know that Transport Evolve won the Electric Auto Association sponsorship on all their shows. I don't know if that would be something we could do.
Future odds, you say?
Future EVA.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, he does pretty good shows, very neutral. And,
Yeah.
good and bad and ugly.
We've conserved our funds by not spreading them around too much. And we even, I was kind of sad to see Adopt a Charger disappear from Washington after we had some success with it in the early years. But so I'm not personally keen on sponsoring individual YouTubers, but it can always be a motion. I sponsor a couple personally, but clubs endorsing prognosticators online. Yes.
A better way to actually address that might be just, how about we promote a few good channels to our own membership?
Yeah.
Just to know that they exist.
We haven't been making use of the MailChimp service. We haven't blasted spam out to our members for the better or worse.
Well, if our website had a one page saying, here's the interesting channels about learning how to do certain things, then this is the path forward. That way we can at least drive membership even if we're not actually paying money.
Benefits of an automated system without intelligence. I'm sure they're on the job. Now, for the matter of the annual election, I invited others to stand for the presidency. I have done 6 years now, and I think that the presidency deserves more than I've been able to give it, especially over the last couple of years. So if there's anyone with some fire in their bellies and energy, please stand and be recognized. Is that why the man in black came to the back?
What about?
You could be the first SEVA president ever to have non-consecutive terms.
What about Cory or Scott?
Well, I did not say might be willing to help.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, you're one of the few people who actually answers the phone anymore, so I want to give you that credit because I have reached out a number of times in the past couple of years. And
I can raise his hand.
all right. Should we have an uninvolved party run the election? Of course, the other office that is open is treasurer. I think Charlie's done a bang-up job, and he's willing to serve another term, and he is eligible to do so. So, there's no evidence of nefariousness in the books. I would nominate Charlie for a second term.
Second.
Any opposed?
Motion.
It's unanimity, yes. Do we hear any nominations for the office of president?
Other than yourself.
I haven't been nominated yet.
I nominate Jay.
Oh,
Well, I'll nominate Stephen if he's willing.
So there will be some times I won't be able to make the meeting, so I guess we'll have to do the vice president if Jay would be interested in helping. I would be willing to take it on again.
I second it.
A boomerang.
So Jay, are you willing to be a master ceremony occasionally?
I can do it.
Or the vice president, yeah, of course.
Do what?
You
Fill
mean
in.
master of ceremony.
Yes. Yeah, I can MC.
I actually can yell loud like Kevin when I want to.
Bill Burr.
All right.
All right. So I would cede the chair We have consensus. Okay, I'll step out. We have a nominee of Stephen Johnson for president.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, President Johnson. Once again, you have pulled me from the fire. And the legislature is full of nappy dressers, natty dressers, I meant. Excellent. All right. Any other items of business that we should take care of tonight?
Would you encourage people to get on the great stuff that Grace did and actually respond and click on there and comment on these laws?
Yes, for instance, on the EV battery stewardship bill, I called the office of Beth Dolio a couple of hours before, saying that had great reservations about the language of this bill that would exclude the right to repair and do-it-yourself and entrepreneurial small business activities, potentially exposing them to fines. And her legislative assistant actually called me back. And they said, this is a work in process. Thank you for SEVA's input. So that was good. Mark.
It's been kind of a dead issue in the last few years, but, you know, every meeting, the president used to say, you know, you can pay for membership, and we have that at PayPal. And so we need, I know Mark Schiller's been very good throughout the years volunteering his time, but there really needs to be emails sent out to remind people when their membership is run out.
Actually, I just got one, but I got it directly from the EDA.
Yeah, the national membership and
Yeah, but this is
SEVA
for SEVA.
split with
I'm
separate
not a total
membership.
deadbeat, but I don't think I pay dues, I know not.
You're definitely a
So,
freeloader.
yeah.
We've always
I've
welcomed
got-
those,
I've got
but
money.
So look, let's talk about this, right? Because we on our website have always referred to individual payments as donations. We don't use the term dues.
Okay,
Okay.
so a
So
reminder for donating.
if we charge dues, and a donation could be one time.
On the membership site, there is a spot where you can sign up as a membership.
As a membership,
Yeah.
but
It's not a donation,
It's
it's a membership sign up,
Um,
$40.
right, but there is nothing in there to suggest that it's an annual charge.
Well, it
Yeah,
says
yeah, there
EAA
is.
membership.
You guys have bylaws?
No, it doesn't say it's SEVA membership, isn't it?
No, well, if you look at the website, for some reason, I don't know why.
Well, that
it
got
says
mixed up recently. It should be
Yeah.
SEVA membership.
Yeah.
And then
it's something for the next administration to sort
I mean,
out.
I just re-upped my renewal just a couple weeks ago. So
Okay,
that's
but
how I-
but if you do PayPal, it goes to the SEVA
Yeah.
treasurer.
Or not, and to, as you're seeing right there, we don't have a lot of expenses. So we're not a fund, we don't wanna collect people's money and sit on it. So if in fact we do collect money, we should have a good idea as to what we're going to do with it. And to this point, we haven't really come up with a plan to do something like that.
I would prefer the model of collecting money to figure out what you can do with it.
We've got enough to figure that out.
Well, no, we could have more, but the thing is, paying dues gives a degree of membership, ownership to the commitment to Seattle Electric Vehicle Association. So that's kind of what I like about it. It's just that, okay, I'm sharing in the responsibility for this organization, and I'm by funding it.
Yeah, so let's get in the game. Yes, sir.
Two things. One, I want to thank the organization for introducing me to the high school group down in the Red Barn.
Yeah.
I've been helping them make parts, and that's just been, I've learned, you can't give without getting more back. I've learned so much about making stuff for them. That's been a lot of fun. And the second thing is, in your leisure time, now that you're, I think there's a book in you. I'm a novice. I don't understand half the words here. I mean, they lost me after battery. So I think there's a book in you. You could there's a lot of people around here, Bill, you should go around and interview everybody. I see this, you know, the mad scientist electric car book.
You're not allowed to have free time, is what he's saying.
Yeah, now you're a man of leisure now.
Thank you for that encouragement. I've resisted trying to become a YouTube celebrity, but I do prefer the printed
Hard
media.
copy, you want a hard copy book, sell them, at least 20 of them.
That actually popped this question in my mind. Years ago, I read a book on converting a motorcycle, a paperback, and a book on converting electric vehicles. And after taking the SEVA series of 4 classes, convinced myself that I wasn't anywhere near capable of doing all that. But has there been any book or books written since then that cover more recent technologies? Because that was all based on DC Motors, the books I read.
I've bought just about every book that I've seen on the subject, and there's nothing that what I would call current or good.
I think most of the current info you'll find on forums and YouTube channels.
YouTube channels, yeah.
And does anybody else get EV Builders magazine? It's a worthwhile subscription, educational. It's highly curated by its primary advertiser, who bankrolled the whole thing. I think our friends Maverick and Brock at Legend EV. Is that them? Electric GT, yes.
One book, yeah.
Anyway, it's a good ongoing source of info, and there's still a number of classes that someone can go to, usually in California or elsewhere. And for high schoolers, EV West spun off an operation to sell a course on a cart, basically a full drivetrain on a cart and a curriculum to go with it that a entry-level college or high school class would be good to have. Let's see, other business.
In terms of news,
Yes.
There's a new protocol that came out, a new version of OCPP. This is 2.1. This finally has support for bi-directional charging.
Hoorah.
So you could essentially contribute power back to the grid, or in theory, even run your home in an islanded mode if there was a power outage. Now, that does not mean that there are vehicles that support this standard, and it does not mean that any of the actual hardware has been UL certified yet to the standard. But the software piece is finally there. There's many other problems that are going to mean that V2G is probably still a year away, not two, here in the US, but it's moving.
A decade or two away, more like.
About the last month or so, I've been seeing a piece of hardware for sale with a 120, 240 split phase 3 kilowatt maybe-ish unit or max to draw power. Do you know what happens to that? Or they just Kickstarter, right? Yes, yeah.
There are some people doing vehicle to load, where you can essentially hook up an adapter to your car, and then you get a 120 volt outlet.
Yeah.
But that's very different from feeding power back to the house.
Yeah,
And
That's
it's a confusing state in the adapter world right now.
Yeah, Vehicle 2X or anything was one of the reasons I bought a Chatamo car in the first place. And I was very disappointed to learn that the 2012 i-Leaf could not do what I was seeing in Fukushima, and Mitsubishi never offered a version of their power box that wasn't 50 hertz, 110 volts.
So you just used a bad word. You said V2X.
V2X.
That means different things to different people.
Okay, V2L, V2G, V2L.
Yes, it's the V2G stuff for certain folks, but for a different type of folks, this is the communication protocol between a vehicle and like road signs and traffic lights.
Oh, wasn't aware of that meaning.
Yeah. This was super confusing at CES about 3 years ago, and the industry hasn't actually really fixed it up yet. Other than maybe the vehicle to everything else stuff is still just not happening yet.
A great irony of ironies, another piece of my conversation with Anagawa-san. was, I found a pristine 2016 IMEV and actually brokered it to his US representative for them to do some demonstration and continued research with, because I'm not dead yet. And, he was about to head into a meeting with Mitsubishi and say, if you would just provide 120 volt, 60 hertz export from the Outlander PHEV, it would be finally a success in the US market.
So vehicle to grid, so I'm aware of two basic ways they do that. The way Ford does it is that they take DC power from the battery, they go to their own inverter and then change it to AC, while Tesla does it with the Cybertruck, where they take 12 kilowatts off of the battery charger and it's 12 kilowatts AC, and that's how they do it. So there's a big difference between that.
And those are both only vehicle to home, they're not to grid.
To load.
It's B to H, not B to G.
B to H.
Oh, your house, just your house.
It won't sync with the grid.
Island
Oh.
Island mode, yeah.
Island mode, okay.
So Tesla, in theory, you could throw some power walls in, and power walls, I think, can export to the grid. So that's a VPP virtual power plant where thousands of homes can contribute to the grid.
Okay.
Right, but they're kind of different ones.
The key thing you need there is a disconnect switch, so that you don't backfeed power to the grid in the case of a power
So
outage.
the Lightning, the Cybertrucks have a auto transfer switch and disconnect it from the grid when they're backfeeding your house, only your house.
Okay, so, yeah, so this would have directly feeding the grid, meaning that there would be a transfer switch.
You still need the disconnect switch there, in the same way that if you bought solar, and if there was a power outage,
Yeah.
and if there was no disconnection there, your
Sure.
solar would be feeding back to the grid, potentially electrocute the utility workers.
Right.
And so you need the disconnect switch there. So it's a little bit of a complex thing. I think that, once vehicle to grid is actually really here, then, we're going to see just how to install this. It's not gonna be that much, it's gonna look just like a solar installation.
So I guess the big deal is it gonna have to have an inverter in the house, or is it gonna be directly off the battery charger of the vehicle?
Alan Cocconi, is that the right way to say it? Alan Cocconi demonstrated it in 1996, when AeroVironment was rolling.
Yeah.
He was an early employee of Tesla and left very quickly. They did it with the vehicle's inverter that powered the wheel.
Right.
By the way, exported power with that
great
same.
recent video on Alan Cocconi. It's out. If you did a search on YouTube, you find it. It's actually pretty good.
The interviews with Stanford alumni.
No, he goes through the whole development of the what was the Impulse? Impact. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, one more organizational note. There was a minor revolt on the EAA president's discussion group of the last week in them not getting annual financial reports from the mother organization, and not EA. VA has hired an executive director for the first time ever. There is a staffer. He was a super energetic club leader out of, I believe it was Ohio. And so we may see a more professional national organization to affiliate with and take a lead. You know, the leadership void at EAA over the years led to spin-offs like Plug in America and just divided the vote. And SIVA went through years of tumult over whether to officially affiliate or not, and people were wondering, the money didn't disappear out of club accounts, but they just couldn't account for it in an easy way. So that should be improving soon. Just a Tesla fan on the sidewalk. I mean, a Musk fan. Well, first time in a long time, we've got 15 minutes left to go and nothing left on the agenda. So want to thank you very much. It's been a very real 6 years, and I will continue to be extremely active, and now I can just be a gadfly for Mr. Johnston instead, because there's all these things that need to be done.
Why don't you lead us in the club song? We don't know where the worst of it.
All hail for SCBA, lunatics all, but they lead the way. 40 years and nothing to show, it's SCBA to go.
Oh, good.
Just over here.
I sing well, but only in a white way. Well, thank you very much. I think we got a few chairs to help our host put away.